welcome to the Cultivating Calmness podcast. My name is 𝗘𝗽𝗵𝗀𝗀, and today we're going to be talking about grief activities to do for yourself or for your kids over the holiday tomorrow. So tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and I want to wish everybody joining me a happy Thanksgiving. And you know, the topic we're going to talk about today goes along with Children's Grief Awareness Month, which it is for the month of November. And I told you last week in my podcast that today we would be talking about some activities and things that you can do to remember loved ones during the holidays. And no better time than the day before Thanksgiving to talk about that. So if you're joining me today, hopefully you can maybe gather some ideas for the holiday celebrations tomorrow, or over the, if you celebrate any time over this weekend, or even you can do some of these in similar ways for the holidays in December. So I'm glad you're here with me today. But to start off, before I get into activities that you can do, I am going to take a little trip down memory lane and talk a little bit about some of the things that I remember. So actually, in preparation for today's episode, I was going through some of my stuff last night looking for what I thought I had. And I know I have more items, but for whatever reason, I cannot find them. I recall what these items look like and what I did, but rather than having them here to show you, if you're watching a video of this podcast, you're just gonna have to hear me describe them. I found one item, and so I will share that with you today, but I don't have the rest. So either I hid them really well, or maybe I did actually get rid of them, or they might still be at my dad's house in his stash of stuff. But my mom died a long time ago, and I was 7 years old, and at that time we were involved in a program called Stepping Stones through our local hospital, and that program actually still exists through the Ohio Health Hospital 𝗘𝗽𝗶𝗀 House, which is a hospice house. Today they have a house. I don't know if they had like an actual building of their own when I was going, or if it was part of a building within the hospital system. I don't know all of that. But I do know that my siblings and I attended, and actually I learned as an adult that my cousins attended that program as well, which I had no recollection of. So when my mom died, we were kind of included or started this program, and I don't know how often we went, but we went and we did all kinds of projects to remember my mom. And one of those projects I have here. And so this is a bottle. It's actually an IBC root beer bottle with a cork in it. And inside is a letter. So again, if you're watching the video, you can see the little letter inside, and I'm going to take it out and we're going to read it. So this was a project I held on to. It was still like in a memory box, and these were things that I did to remember my mom. So if I open it up, it's rolled up, and on the back is just a like pen drawn heart. But on the front side, where my letter is, it says, "Dear Mom, I love you. I will miss picking flowers with you. You're the best mom I ever had. I'm sad. I love you very much." So if that gives you any insight into what, children are thinking, that's apparently what I was thinking at the time. At this time, I don't recall planting flowers or picking flowers with my mom, but 7 or 8 year old me did. And I'm still sad, but a way to remember a loved one would be something like this. Maybe you or your family has a bottle laying around, or you will have a drink in a bottle over this holiday. You could use that bottle, clean it out, dry it out, get a piece of paper, write a note, draw a picture on it, and roll it up, put it back inside the bottle. You could get a cork, you could somehow fasten that bottle cap or whatever was on that bottle, keeping it sealed, and close it up, and you can keep it. You can put it in a box. It can be something for them. You could bury it. You could, if if your person is buried, like at a cemetery, you could encourage them to take this, and you could take it there and set it on the headstone if that's allowed, or bury it under the ground, or if you have their ashes in some kind of container or box, you could set this next to it. Anything you want to do, you could do with this. And that's just one example of something you can do to remember your loved one. And they can write anything they want on that letter, do anything they want on the letter. They don't have to share it with anybody. And they can keep it for as long as they want to. They can get rid of it. I happen to have mine. I don't know if my brother and sister have theirs, if they even did this activity, but this was mine. Some other ones, that I recall, I can't remember all the specifics, but I do know for me, a lot of the images and pictures and things that I did about my mom and for my mom usually included an angel. So I do distinctly recall, angels being a part of a lot of things, and my mom is my angel, and then my brother, sister, my dad, and I would be in the picture, but my mom would always be an angel because that's what I was taught. I was raised Catholic, and we believed that she went to heaven and that she was an angel watching over us. So that is what I've always believed, and that is part of how I remember her. So I do know that a lot of the activities that I made about her included that kind of imagery. For me, that was comforting. So, I don't have those to show you, but I do recall doing a lot of those things. And I'm sure now that I have talked about it, I'm sure I could probably go back to my home and, there they will be, I will find them. But I did not find them last night so that I could share them with you. So I do want to share some other activities with you, things that you can do with your children, your class. I know it's, the day before Thanksgiving, so this may be an afterthought, but this could be something these are things you could do for any holiday or any moment really, but thinking of Thanksgiving being tomorrow, these may be things that you could do with the children or yourself to try to remember your loved one. So one, I wanted to go pick leaves yesterday, or the day before, and then it rained, and so I did end up getting some leaves that were kind of wet, but it still worked. I laid them out and they dried. So for this activity, you're gonna wanna get some leaves. So I just went outside here in my office and I found some leaves, and they're not, some of them are a little crunchy. You may be able to hear that on the video. But some of them are alive. I found there's still some green plants outside, so I picked a green leaf. It really doesn't matter. It could be anything, blades of grass if you wanted to, but go outside, find some leaves of some kind, and we are going to do one of the crayon, color pencil marker impression activities. So I have a bunch of leaves. A lot of them are pretty big. I did find some small ones. You can see them here, and this little teeny tiny one that kind of looks like a flower. Maybe it was a flower, but it's dead now. And I'm gonna show you what I did. So I got this activity from the book with the National Alliance for Children's Grief. They did change their name a couple years ago. So on this book, it says the National Alliance for Grieving Children. And this is their When Someone Dies, a Child Caregiver Activity book. And in this book, you can see lots of different activities, and I'm just gonna flip through here and show you how there's different categories of activities, questions, ways to remember your loved one, and help children to express their feelings and their thoughts about the person that has died and their grief. So if you're watching, you can kind of see some of these activities coming in, and I'm going to share some of them from this book with you today. And you can get this, I believe, on the 𝗓𝗡𝐺 website, and you can get that for yourself or your class. I scanned a couple pages so that I could reuse them, and I can show you. So the impressions, it's lasting impressions, and so go on a leaf hunt and find a leaf or several and place your leaf under this page and gently rub with a crayon across the top, and you will see the pattern of the leaf appear. try using different leaves or different colors. And so that's what I did. So if you are watching, you can see that I have a few different leaves, all those ones I showed you on here, and the impressions that those leaves left. So what does that mean? You know, what do the impressions mean? So just like a leaf has a lasting impression on the paper, your person has made a lasting impression on you. That's the overall point. And so with this, you can spice it up. You can make it however you want. You could just have it on a piece of paper. You could make it a frame of some kind. You could cut the impressions out and paste them on something. You can make it however you want. You could write the things that stick with you about your person inside each of the leaves. Lots of ways that you can do this. And I overlap them so you can see one leaf below the other one. And so maybe you have multiple people that you are grieving and missing, and each of the leaves can represent a different person. There's no right or wrong way to do this activity. I actually saw something the other day that I thought was pretty cool, and you know, you could turn it into a remembrance activity. And it was, they sent the kids out to find the leaves, and they had a piece of cardboard that they attached some strings to so that the strings could like go over their shoulders, and then they decorated the like half circle cardboard with all of the leaves in like rainbow type fashion and like hoops or arches, excuse me, and then they would like walk around and look like a turkey with wings. I thought that was super cute. So you could, again, do this lasting impression exercise with your kids. It could be the real leaves. You could trace the leaves, color over the leaves, paint the leaves, any kind of thing you can do with the leaves to represent their recollection and their memory of their person. And that's something you could do on Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving, in the fall, in the spring, anytime really. There's no rhyme or reason or specific time you have to do that activity, but I thought that would be a good one since we are in the fall, and there, at least in Ohio, there are still lots of leaves left to be fallen and picked up, and you will probably find some in your yard. So another one specifically for the holidays, also in that book I just shared with you, is the special days and holidays. And this particular one is just to draw or list some of the days that are special to you, why these days are special, and what you do as a family, or what your person did to make the days special. So I drew a little picture of like a table for the holidays and a Christmas tree. So again, this could be a list, it could be a picture, and then you can talk about it. Have the child share what that picture means to them, what they remember about their person, about Thanksgiving, or whatever holiday, whatever the memory is. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving, especially if maybe they don't have a memory of Thanksgiving. And then the other one that I really liked, especially since Thanksgiving is a lot about togetherness and food, and there's a lot of food involved, there's a plate. It's a picture of a plate with a fork and a knife next to it. You can print your own, you could draw your own, but this activity book does have one in it. And it says to have, do you have a favorite meal that is served on the holidays or special days? Draw a picture of your favorite foods below. So this is about them, but it could also be what they remember about their person's favorite meal, or you could say, if you could share your favorite meal with your person, what foods would you put on your plate? So here's my plate, and I have tried to put everything on here. I got the turkey, and there's a roll, and green bean casserole, and mashed potatoes, and stuffing, and this is that cranberry. In my house, we had the cranberry jelly that came in the can, the circle. So that's something that I remember. And it's hard to put like white mashed potatoes on your plate, so they're silver on here. And rolls have a funny story in my home, so there's a roll on here because that I remember something funny happening with rolls in my family, so I put that on there, and it's a funny story that I tell from time to time when it comes to the holidays and remembering having memories. Whether, my person, my mom, I don't know that she was actually there when the roll incident happened in our family. I think it may have been after she had died. I don't actually recall. I do remember it was at my house. I don't remember when or what year it was, but funny story. And if you're interested, you can ask me and I can share more about that. So those are from that. Some other activities you could do, and again, there are so many out there. I got these from 𝗖𝗹𝗺𝗀𝗁𝗀. I think I'm getting her name correct. She recently just had a Kickstarter for her ABCs of Grief book that will be coming out, so keep an eye out for that here in the new year. And she has put out a lot of resources for activities, and so I have one of her resources with different activities in it. And so she has a kids grief support Instagram page and business that she does a lot of these exercises with. So these are things that you could do with your children today or any day, but I thought with the holidays being here, these may be things that you could do. So painting rocks. You can paint rocks. You could do a theme, you could do your person's name, you could do their name, it could do anything. It could have a message on it. I know my kids, we like to decorate them and then go place them around town, and then other people find them. It could be a cool thing you could do, maybe to spread awareness or to share a message about your loved one, and then you can track that rock and where it's been and where it's going. If you add like a hashtag, or you create a Facebook page or Instagram page or something for these rocks, that's really big, but it could be smaller scale and just be rocks that you decorate your room or your home or your garden with, or even just a piece that they can remember. I actually didn't think about it, but I have some rocks on my shelf here on the other side of this camera that I did at one of the NACG symposiums, where we wrote our person's name on some rocks as remembrance. And so I still have those, and they sit on my shelf there, and I didn't bring them over here. But those are ways that you can remember your loved one with painting rocks. On this page is also jewelry making. There's all kinds of ways that children make jewelry these days. Any kinds of beads. You could go out and just get some simple beads and letters or things that the person liked, and they can make them as a remembrance of the person who died. One that is that can be also pretty special, especially around the Christmas type holidays, is she calls them coaster painting, but they could also be ornaments. And so these are like those wood slices that you can get. Usually at any craft store might have them. Amazon, I'm sure, has them, and you can paint them. You could paint images on them. You could potentially print pictures, and there's a certain type of glue that you can use where you can infuse the picture onto the wood directly, and then you peel the paper off and the picture stays. I forget what that process is called. I have done it, but it's been a little while, right? You could do that and make it a coaster or a little frame or an ornament, and these would be ways to help your child remember your loved one, and they feel like they are included in that holiday. Oh, going back to the plate, something that our family never really did, but I do have other family members who did do this when they had family members die, was saving a plate, having a place at the table for their loved one. And so the place had a chair, a plate, silverware, drink, everything for the person who died. And that was just a way to remember that they still lived in their memory, they were still with them, and they saved a place for them at their table. And so you may be interested in doing something like that. Having the kids create a name, like a name card. So sometimes I'll have my kids create little name cards, color them for every person at the table. So that may be a way for them to remember their loved one, and for you to remember them, and share that holiday with the loved one. The last example I have as far as what I can show you and share with you is what lies within the folds. This looks like a little coffee filter snowflake, sorry. So let me see here. This says, we all have things underneath the surface or the folds that tell our deeper story. So you write down what has shaped you, what makes you who you are, what activities or talents you have, positive traits. You could also do this you talking about the person that you love, the things that you remember about them, the things you love about them, the things that you miss, the things that you're feeling. You can make this activity whatever you want it to be, and then you can color it with. So you fold it. I guess this is a piece of paper, but you could potentially use like a coffee filter. Fold up the sections in like an accordion, staple it together, and you can paint it with watercolors. So you could also paint it with watercolors before you fold it up. And so like you can see in this picture, if you're watching, it's kind of faded, like watercolors, and you can drop like water on it to make those colors spread if you're using things like markers. And then once it dries, fold it up, staple it, and you have this cool looking little snowflake. Or you could potentially just make snowflakes, same thing. Write all the things on it, color it, paint it, fold it up, cut out the snowflake, and voila, you have a snowflake that remembers your loved one. I know we've passed Halloween, but you could write things on a pumpkin, carve it out, make particular faces that show how you're feeling about your loved one. Anything like that would be something you can do. So I hope that you found some of these activities helpful, and that you maybe find something that you can do this holiday season, especially tomorrow for Thanksgiving, to remember your loved one and help your children remember their person or people who have died. And encourage them to, while doing these exercises, encourage them to talk about their loved one, and you yourself talk about their loved one if you feel you are able. And that, again, gives them that reinforcement and shows them that it's okay to talk about them. If tears come, that's okay. If they get angry, that's okay. We just want to teach them that all those feelings are okay. We also want to learn how to manage those feelings appropriately. So I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining me today for the Cultivating Calmness podcast. I will join you next week for the last Children's Grief Awareness Month podcast episode, and we will talk some more. I haven't quite figured out what that topic will be yet, but we will talk next week. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful holiday, and hope you can join me next week.